we didn't see him. From the day that it happened, I did not see him ever again until court. So, I knew she was hiding him. And I knew they were looking for him. I mean, the police were knocking on our door all the time. Every time we left to the store, there was a police car out there. Like if we were going to walk to him, they're following us. But I remember when she turned himself in, I heard her say, she got a hold of the attorney. She got a hold of the news media. She had them take pictures of him up and down prior to even turning himself in. And I remember they went to a McDonald's, and I remember them saying he ate like three quarter pounders or something.
Yeah, I kept on eating. It was so crazy because I knew they were going to take me to the juvenile system. I knew they were going to lock me up.
Welcoming you to another episode of Unshackled Building Bridges. We're here to talk about a commonality that we have, which is all of us impacted by the incarceral system, the experiences we have are from there. Our theme today is we're going to talk about how siblings stick together while one was incarcerated. We'll talk about that in a minute. I have a statement. In a moment, I will ask these two to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about themselves. Then I have a couple questions to share with us. Today, Unshackled Building Bridges kicks off conversations about brothers and sisters who survived incarceration. So they're the first ones to be brothers and sisters to talk about that. We're going to bring probably next week in a continuous estimated 6 or 7 different families of what it was like to have that kind of struggle. The purpose of our podcast is designed to let people impacted by the incarceration system, to tell their story. And we asked them here today to hear their story. I like writing things down. I thought about our bondage and captivity in our youth, what took us to this system, and it was the spirit of violence that was in our community, and that's what our community taught us. This was our commonality. I thought how we struggled to overcome what affected us so profoundly, and that was being shackled. And in our case, it led us to the incarceral system. Today we will discuss relationship building and siblings impacted by incarceration. I have Joey and his sister Cathy, and I'll let them introduce one to the other and give a little insight of what they feel about that and who they are. So who feels like they want to go first?
My name is Joey Joseph Rodriguez. A lot of people who knew me as a juvenile know me as Mijos. I grew up on the south side of Chicago in the Pilsen neighborhood. I got locked up as a juvenile and I was sentenced to a natural life sentence. And I wound up doing 35 years.
I'm his sister Cathy. I was 2 days shy of my 18th birthday when this happened. And when he says he got sentenced as a juvenile, he forgets natural life without the possibility of parole. To me, there's a difference because natural life, you might have a possibility of outdate. With that added on there, there is no outdate.
So you walk 35 years with the assumption and thinking you're going to die in that situation. So that's what that means in that regard. So in my personal case, because we're talking about incarceration, I was sentenced to 200 years minimum and a 600-year maximum. And then my option of being released was through a prison review board. And every year I would go to this prison review board, not every year, but the majority of the time, they would remark indirectly and later on in life, directly, you're going to die by incarceration. You're going to die in these facilities here. So I can imagine I went for 47 years, that his 35 years hearing that and what it took. So I'm going to start out my questions with him. That's my first question is to Mijos or Joey. It says, because this relates to siblings helping one another as encountering the criminal justice system like we just spoke about, I would ask you, what was it like as you shared with family, your sister or others, what it would take to get you relief from incarceration? What were the conversations like? Because I was explaining to you earlier that I would say to my family, we have to do this or that. And it was like I was up against a brick wall because my family were conservative, believed in the system. and didn't think that some of these things were true, that I was lying, but I was, and at that time I did try to lie myself out of the situation. But those conversations, it took so many years for me to educate, to finally, you could say, move the football down the field a little bit more, like that. So what did you encounter as you tried to reach out to them to, or were you oblivious? Like my first 8 years, I didn't know what it meant to have 600 years. And then I woke up one day, man, you're in trouble.
Well, for me, I knew I was in trouble right away. As soon as the whole incident that took place, I knew I stepped overboard, and there was no fixing it, like instant repairs. How I was gonna like get by that, I didn't know, because everything was just coming so fast to me, and I was so confused. I remember my mother basically hiding me for like the 2-week process, and she basically told me, "Listen, Joey, you're gonna have to decide if you're gonna either face your troubles, or you want to keep on running for the rest of your life." So that's when I basically made a decision. Hey, listen, I know I made a mistake. I want to stay. I want to deal with the consequences. So after I made that decision, because she said that it's not her decision, it was my decision to make. So she she said, "Well, you're gonna have to be a big boy now. You ain't gonna run for this,
Yeah.
So she said, basically, you decide what you want to do, and then I'll help you do it. So once I decided, listen, I know I made a mistake, and I'm gonna face the consequences. That's when I think she got a lawyer for me. We set it up for me to turn myself in and start going through the juvenile system and the court system. That's what I remember.
So how you remember this guy?
I remember her, hiding him, and then they really didn't speak. It was my mom and my dad would talk, but my mother was the decision maker. But it was, we didn't see him. From the day that it happened, I did not see him ever again until court. So I knew she was hiding him, and I knew they were looking for him. The police were knocking on our door all the time. Every time we left to the store, there was a police car out there, like if we were gonna walk to him, they're following us. But I remember when she turned himself in, I heard her say, she got a hold of the attorney, she got a hold of the news media, she had them take pictures of him up and down prior to even turning himself in. And I remember they went to a McDonald's, and I remember them saying he ate like three quarter pounders.
Yeah, because I kept on eating. It was so crazy. Because I knew they were going to take me to the juvenile system. I knew they were going to lock me up. So I think I won because I actually turned myself in across the street from Wrigley Field at the old McDonald's, So I was in there, and they were watching me eat. Everybody was trying to basically hurry up and eat. You got to go, So I was saying, "Oh, let me get another Big Mac. I want more Big Mac,"
That's the young mind speaking.
Yeah, and I knew they were in a rush just to put the cuffs on me and take me, So to prolong that, I just ate until my belly was full, And then it's just like, all right, it's time to go, And they cuffed me. They made my rights. They basically took me straight to the juvenile system.
There you go. So that comes up with partially the second question I have for you. Is I know you were juvenile. So what timeline process did you experience? Where did you start at? You just said straight to the juvenile center. Then what was the process? And then where you landed, where you started at?
Well, once they processed me, I think it was on December 11th, 1981. That's when I turned myself in. It wasn't that day. It was somewhere.
That's the day it happened.
Oh, that's the day it happened.
2 weeks after. So it's like the end of December, maybe the 28th, 29th.
1981?
1981.
Okay.
It maybe the 22nd of December. Okay. I know I spent Christmas in there, and I basically got a court date. I went to court. They basically told me in court that the state attorneys wanted to try me as an adult. And from there, it just, I think it took maybe 5 months process for me to turn 17. They were bouncing me back to Cook County because they did wind up trying me as an adult. Because I had a court, I had actually a hearing to determine whether they're going to try me as an adult or not. I wound up losing that hearing. So by me losing that hearing, they automatically tried me as an adult. So I started going to court in Cook County, and until I turned 17, they were bouncing me back and forth, taking me literally in a van to the Cook County, going to court.
Continuous.
Yep. And so my 17th birthday, I thought I was going to court, but they basically told me, no, you're transferring to Cook County. So once you turn 17, we no longer keep juveniles here. You got to go to Cook County in the adult system.
So how long you spent in Cook County?
In Cook County, I think I wound up doing maybe 9 months to a year, because I had a speedy trial.
Yeah.
And
then you were stashed away.
They basically isolated me in ABO.
So to go back to that about being on, how do you feel about when you're 16 years old? Because I went at 18 years old. So, and as you kind of answered that, you can't. It's a surreal thing. You're going into a different culture. You're going into a different lifestyle. You're going into different rules and confinements and all that stuff like that. So. Like I said earlier, it took me like 8 years to be like, wow, this is a situation here. So you said right off the top, you knew we were in trouble. So how long before you started thinking, do I appeal this? Or because after you, in my case, first you had to go through trial. What was the trial? I didn't know what the trial was. I had to go through that. Then, oh, that's what that is. Then you got the right to appeal. What's that? Oh, that's what that is. And as you walked along that, so they first put you as a juvenile center from the county jail, then to Joliet. So you spent like 4 or 5 years in Joliet?
Yeah, I believe 4 or 5 years. But let me answer your question real quick in regards to me processing the whole situation of me being sent to the Department of Corrections. I remember that I first I had to make a decision on what I'm going to do with my life. I knew that my attorneys, I had an amazing legal team, to be honest with you, and they guided me accordingly. They basically told me the process was going to happen. They said they're going to appeal it, obviously, and that took maybe like 2 or 3 years for the appeal process to go through. I eventually lost that, but in the process of me getting established in the Department of Corrections, I knew that, okay, well, if I'm here, I got to try to make the best situation. I enrolled in school to try to occupy my time. I wound up getting my GED within the first year, in my second year, since I had my GED already, I started taking up college courses, So I was kind of like doing what I was supposed to be doing, like trying to stay as positive as I possibly can, but I was still completely lost. It took me like close to 15 to 20 years before everything started setting in. Okay, well, damn, how am I gonna get out of here? Shit.
You're right about that. You're right about that. So now I'm gonna ask Cathy this question for the same thing for her, because, like I said, it took that much time, but it was good that, because you say as a kid, well, I got to go to school, I got to get my schooling. So that's a natural thing, but you're stuck in this kind of culture that it's just mixed up and nothing's settled in this culture. In this place, it's just one actor after another of different instances all the time. You're not in control of it. So it keeps you off guard of trying to, to think straight of that. So you put your life, you could say, in the lawyer's own. So everybody would say, I have a lawyer, so you thought everything was okay. But it's really not okay. So I would ask you, Cathy, from the family standpoint, what were your first instincts of strategy? Was it because you said your mother got a lawyer? That's that part. But now, once he became into the institutions, then now, as you said, after 23 years old or 25 years old, now, wow. And you keep saying it right now and emphasizing on natural life without the possibility of parole. So it hit you that, man, this means forever. So what was your strategy, I would say? How did you start thinking about, man, how can we do this? So did you go trying to get help from more lawyers, or did, go into the visiting room and visit him? Because we've seen each other for years in the visiting room.
Well, basically, my mom took care of everything for those first 19 years of attorney-wise.
Yeah.
So I was like kind of lost. I always emphasize the without the possibility of parole, because you hear, oh, they got natural life. That's like 40 years, they'll do 20 and be out. But it took 4 years for me to realize what his sentence was. That it was without the possibility of parole, that no, he's not coming home unless it's in a box. And that's what, somebody pointed it out to me that way.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
that's-
that was 4 years, but my mom passed in his 19th year. At that point, there's where I fell into it then, because,
You start picking up the mantle.
Well,
but
yeah,
you have
I mean,
to
she
do
was
the
gone.
fighting. Yeah,
and he got a letter from someone at Northwestern that,
to start picking them
well,
up.
they were trying to investigate now juvenile life without the possibility of parole. It's illegal. It's against the Constitution. So he got that letter. He sent that letter to me, and I got a hold of the lady, and I started going into the groups there at Northwestern. It was just maybe
That
like
was
a
Sarah-
hand.
that was Sarah
Sarah
Silla?
Sillis. Sarah Sillis. And to this day, I seen her like last month. She would be out there talking, doing things. She had a son, a young son. Her mom used to watch him. He's like 24, 25 now. He's like so tall. I have a picture of all of us together. But she was out there pounding it. So when he sent me the copy of the letter, I called her and I got, I started to get involved. And it was just like this other lady, Julie Anderson, Eric's mom. There's where I met Julie. It was like they were just starting to get a hold of families that, had their child
That kind
in
of situation.
jail without the jail. That's what they always call it. But so then I started to get involved in there. We started like talking, and at first it was almost kind of like a support group, because you don't think anybody else has the sentence with you. So you're talking, and for me, I was the only sister. Everybody else was a mother.
Wow.
So they were all mothers of their sons.
Yeah.
So,
That's
it's like we
interesting.
started talking, through there, and it just throughout the years it progressed. Then they wanted us to start to go lobby in Springfield, but Northwestern can't lobby because of legal funds or, something, whatever the law is. So we created a support group called CRIC. It was Communities Relatives of Illinois' Incarcerated Children. So it's like we got this big support group in, and so when we went lobbying under that. We would go over there to that. And then 10 years into that, Restore Justice came along. Joby set up Restore Justice. So it's
Definitely a learning process,
yes,
you know.
it's a big learning process. I mean, when I went in there telling my story, some of these lawmakers, now mind you, the law that was set for juvenile life was back 80s, 79 or 80.
77.
So yeah, somewhere right around there. These lawmakers that were in office now weren't even there. So when you're telling them the story, some of them were like, what do you mean forever? 16? What do you mean for the rest of your life? They didn't even know that law is there.
Wow. So basically you were influencing them to, change their minds on these concepts. So that had an effect on my release also about juvenile lifers cannot have life. So even though I didn't have life without the possibility of parole, I had life by numbers, and I couldn't come out from underneath that. And I had to go back to court, and eventually the appellate court ruled to re-sentence me, even though I wasn't a juvenile, but that my brain didn't work.
Right.
And that they had to sentence me as a juvenile. And that's what helped me. So, following the footsteps of that.
Yeah.
So, when you think retroactively back about the question I asked, so what did you do for your strategy? Look what the strategy became. Even though you're not an attorney and I'm not an attorney, we're not attorneys, you became
You still keep on fighting.
a para attorney.
A paralegal.
Paralegal type, because you went and network with people to do all this stuff like that.
I mean,
So-
we were in the Adolfo Davis case because actually it was kind of good because the Illinois Supreme Court was remodeling. They were remodeling the Capitol, so they had his case downtown.
Wow.
So it was packed. We were out in the hallways and everything. We were like, pick up the phone, guy. Anybody. If whoever was involved with something like this, for moral support, show up.
Yeah. I had my hope shirt on today, so there's always that.
Always hope.
that
There
there.
always is hope. I always say that. Never give up.
Yeah, I'll go back to Mijo's question about, tell us about your strategy, because I've spent time with him in the maximum facilities. Before we do that, you could give me a little bit about, because you went from the juvenile center to the Cook County Jail to Joliet, and then ended up into the maximum system like that. So, you know, you forgot about Stateville?
No, not at all. I just didn't get there yet, you know. It was like I said, it was like a learning process for me, and it basically took steps in my life that I had to go through. I had no alternative to go to avoid them. But I remember, like I said, I went to the juvenile system. From the juvenile system, I went to Cook County. I got sentenced. My first stop was the Joliet Correctional Center.
Process.
Yeah, I got processed. I got where they stationed me there in Joliet for three years, and that was a learning process, you know. After 3 or 4 years, they wound up sending me to Menard Correctional Center for a year. There was a big riot down there, a gang riot down there. I was one of the ones that wound up getting shipped out of there. They shipped me to Stateville.
That's why I left. No?
And I think that was, I want to say 1987. That's when I got to the Stateville Correctional Center. And I wound up doing 13 years in Stateville, you know.
It's a long time.
Yeah. You know,
So the 35 years is a long time. Go ahead.
after the 13 years in Stateville, there was good times and bad times there. I was still going to school, educating myself, trying to stay as positive as possible. After I made the 20 years incarcerated behind the wall, they finally decided to give me the opportunity to go to, I think, Galesburg Correctional Center, which was like a medium
Was
max.
medium at that time, yeah.
Yeah, medium max. It was more open, you know. So it kind of like expanded me to like a different environment other than seeing straight walls and steel, you know. When I got to Galesburg Correctional Center, I was able to see the outside world. It was so crazy. I remember just sitting in the yard looking at the highway, watching cars drive by. And I said, "Wow, holy shit, look at that!" You know,
You're flying.
yeah, it was crazy, but that was my experience in there.
Yeah.
While I was in Galesburg, I kept on going to school, trying to stay as positive as possible. I think I did 5 years in Galesburg. After the 5 years, I put in for another transfer. I think for just a medium. I was approved. I wound up going to Danville. I did I think 10 years in Danville, and once I was in Danville, I was obviously basically going to school, going to my normal assignment.
Well, didn't they stop your schooling though because they said your time?
Well,
the time
at
that
one
you
time
had?
they said that I couldn't go no further than I think they
Put a
had took the
limit
grant.
on it. I remember
They
had
took
put
the
a
grants
limit.
away for us going to school, so
Yeah.
they kind of eliminated it for us.
Eliminated, yeah.
And because I had so much amount of time, they wanted to give like
Somebody that was going
people
home.
with lesser time the opportunity to keep going to school and stuff like that.
Became
Yeah.
a statute like that.
So that kind of like stagnated me from like getting a degree and
More
stuff like
education.
that. Right.
Yeah. So
In the process, when I was in Danville, that's when I basically heard from Sarah Sillies.
Yes.
And that's when I basically started, okay, the doors started to open. I think there was other people getting involved. And for me, that was my point. Okay, maybe there is a chance to get out there. Because I already came to the conclusion, well, if I'm here stuck in this environment and I got a naturalized sentence without parole, I got to make it as comfortable as possible for me,
or do for others.
and try to help others as much as I possibly can. You know.
So I remember you had the following from the outside people. You had groups following you.
I had that from the start because there was always like I forgot what was the Amnesty America International. They basically not just followed me, but every juvenile that was sentenced to natural life without parole, in all different states, they were actually following them, keeping like close contact of how they process if they were like having trouble inside the system, or
they monitor
or
what you did with
developing.
your time.
Exactly.
Or not do.
That's what
So,
they were doing.
yeah.
You know, to see how we were mentally
Adapting to-
developing.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
or if we
Weston
were
said
suffering
that it
and
was
stuff like that.
2,500 juveniles across the U.S.
Yeah.
that had natural life without the possibility of parole.
So while in Joliet not so bad, but when he came to Stateville, there was a lot of incidences you could say that we experienced in that time and there. So to maneuver ourselves and stay positive, and I tell a lot of people that because they use the phrase public safety about that's why they have us incarcerated is to save public from the people that committed crimes and stuff. And I tell them we were the public safety. We were the ones that when somebody wanted to hurt somebody like that, no, hey, don't do that. You know, so as we matured at the same time, so you're walking with life on your back, knowing that they're saying you're gonna die there, but you have the internal instinct, spiritual. To me, I call it spirituality, to say I'm not gonna be the animal that they want to keep marginalizing me as. They marginalize me as that. And like I was speaking earlier, where he made that statement about the shoes being too tight, so I used to say to the prison review board when I went, I'm the oldest 18-year-old that you know, because you won't let me be 19 and 20 and 20 like that. And he had his statement about, hey, I came in with size 7 or 8, and I still feel my shoes so tight because now I wear bigger shoes. I can't get no bigger shoes because they keep you as that same person. You can't experience that growth like that. So I don't know what year, because as far as litigation and actually seeing him, I could say, I'll call it like the term charges, batteries, like to actually get off the gallery and get in the cell and be like, hey, I'm busy and I'm writing to these people and I'm doing that. Where hey, come check out, read this, read that. Where he locked in on that, and then that kind of solicitation. So we both experienced that.
Yeah.
And,
I remember that. I used to write numerous letters all the time to different agencies, with just the hopes that they might grasp. Okay, yeah, we're gonna pick up your case.
It's almost like little kids yelling, "Hey, I had enough." So and it's ironic. Your first say 10, 11 years, you're just all in whatever's going on in the community. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, whatever. And I have pictures of us from back then. You look at it, whoa, you were doing that in there. You would be surprised at some of the stuff. But to finally, hey, I want that way. I want that way. Because you have a lot of guys who are around us with life sentences and they would have the statement about the water under the bridge. It's like, already we're not going, and you have to provoke them. So we would actually on visits, like when you would come, I couldn't go to your table so much and get personal because I would walk by and he's telling you, no, you gotta talk to this person, you gotta talk to that person. So you're going to school at the table and you come to my table, hey, hold up, man, we're talking about, where's my lawyer, where's my judge,
Right.
So those are the conversations. And I used to tell my sister, I said, I don't know when it's gonna be that I could come up here and say, hey, what kind of car you got, what size tires you got? Those were my conversations. Or what size shoes the kids wear, what grade your kid in? I don't care. So you get so into this corner of driven about coming home, like you said, almost, oh, you got a younger brother, I didn't even know you had a younger brother. It's irrelevant. I got life.
Yeah.
I got life. I want this thing off me. So that's the major.
One thing I'll tell you right now, Ronnie, is that even from the beginning of my incarceration, my mother always instilled with me, don't ever give up.
Yeah.
She always told me that, hey, listen, you're gonna get out one day, no matter what your sentence is. They're gonna let you out because of your age. She knew it was illegal, and she would always tell me, "Hey, listen."
It was immoral. She knew.
Yeah.
It's immoral. Like, how can they do that to a kid?
Well, that was her mother instinct that she would always tell me, "You're gonna get out." But she had told me, Joey, once you get out, just make me one promise. She said, "Make things right when you get out."
There you go.
And ever since I've been out running, it's like I remember her words, and I've kept that promise.
There you go.
You know, I did made major mistake in my life, and I don't know if any juveniles are watching now, if they're in the same situation I am now, but there is a better life, and if you ever get that opportunity, make things right from what you did wrong.
There you go. A lot of us need to do that. So I remember we had created, while we were there, we started learning how to do interest groups and charter them. And we were doing like a Mothers of Mercy or Concerned Citizens for Prison Reform, and these different titles we would come up with, sit down and strategize of how can we get our families together to do this. And when I seen it, you could say kick off like that, we had a guy in there, what his name was Bobby. You know, little guy, he had like triple natural life and 100 years on top of that. So, but his father was intense on getting his son out of there. So his father would come, and he didn't speak English a lot, so we would sit down and say, these are the possibilities. If we do this, we could do this. And if we get together, we could do that. And one time he came to the vision room and said they had a concessions there where you could buy M&Ms and a pop. And back then they could bring money in there up to like $40, $60.
Right.
And he said, I want to buy all that. So he bought everything they had. And then he said, that's for everybody. We're all family. And he had a big moment there. And I remember the wardens come up and all that, and like, hey, what's going on here? You know, and I'm still standing by the table, what do you want? And they're like, well, we want to know what you know. You got all the Latins started visiting all on the one day, so all of a sudden you go in the vision room, it's all the people that we knew right there.
Yeah.
So it was, I was seeing that as our families came together more and more, then when we went in the vision room, it was no more, hey, you sit there,
share, yeah.
hey, you stand there, and hey, you don't do that. It would just, they would come down, are they peaceful? Leave them alone. And I seen the power structure they were recognizing us as mature. And then back in the units where we were at, we were the ones that, hey, go ahead and lock up, hey, go ahead and don't do that and don't do that. And that paved the way because there were people around us that were so frustrated, you know, and then you lose your parents or you lose a sister or something happened to your family that they didn't want to hear some of the good comments. I had friends of mine that, hey, stop doing that. Are you a sucker now? Or are you're changing now? You're not, you know,
Getting soft.
You know, you're getting soft now. You want to, you know what I'm saying? So we navigated and maneuvered through all that to get to where all this came to, you know, and especially like you did then, like my sister did, and my younger brother did, and my brothers went to those networks of those people helping people and throwing dinners and having gifts and different stuff, and you know, I basically looked at it as the more we showed love and not the animalistic instincts, the more we showed love, it was moving these mountains, these, you know, and that's where it's at. So
But they would always try to stop it.
all the time.
Always try to stop it, put
You
a
know.
damper on it. I remember one time, one girl, she forgot her money card. Well, it was a money card now, so this is maybe like 20 years in.
Yeah.
They switched to the money card. So I had told her, I said, look, I got enough on here. I said, you know, I'll get it. And the officer actually told me, you can't share that card.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I said, you know what? I went to the bathroom and I told her, I left my card on the sink. Just go in the bathroom after me, get it.
You have to do that. Sometimes
But yeah.
they'll kick you off for a year or stuff like that.
Yeah.
When I started, not a joke, but when I started back in 1976, they didn't have concession stands, period, in the visiting rooms. They had them outside for the visitors in the outside areas, in the waiting areas downstairs. So my little sisters were 7 and 5 years old, and they would put candy bars in their shoes and actually come up there and they'd be sitting there, and one of them would, hey, watch out, and they would pull out a candy bar smashed. In the summertime, they walked on it, but it was, you know, in a way, it was so wrong, but it was so cute.
Well, you know,
To see these kids love you that much, they,
to sneak it in.
you know, yeah.
Well, my mom, I don't know if you remember when you were in jail yet, she was like this with one female officer. So she would bring in 2 dozen of tamales,
Yeah, I remember
give
that.
the officer 1 dozen, and she'd let her bring the other dozen in for them to eat inside.
That's what happens. So back to this, so we can round this thing up. And I would ask this another question for Cathy. And it says, many people are still impacted by incarceration. What kind of advice could you give to families whose members may have natural life? You know, because you have a 35, 40 year experience, and as you say, you're still involved with that. let me tell you this real fast, that since I've been home in my 2 years, I have actually sat down with some women who their husbands are in there with Natural Life and told them how the C numbers had got together and started meeting and doing it like that. So, you know, this is how you can do this. So they're the biggest now section of, like, it used to be the C numbers, then you had a bunch of accountability cases, then you had the other ones, the habitual criminals, then you had a whole thing about veterans being in there. So as far as a class, they're one of the biggest classes right now, or a lot of natural lifers. So I don't know, what would you say to these women that their spouse or their family member, sibling are hearing natural life without the possibility of parole?
The first thing is like, you got to get out there and learn. You have to educate yourself on it. I mean, it took me 23 years before I started to really learn
how to help
him. You know, and it's there's all kinds of start small. There's support groups out there. There's support groups. If you Google it, you'll find it. When, like I said, Silas started this off, and it was just family members meeting at a table like this, 3 or 4, 5. Then there was 10. Then, you know, turns into a support group where you could come out there and at least speak, get what you're feeling off your chest. I mean, look at Julie. You know, and not to really talk about her case, but she's a white lady. Her husband was a cop. She never in her life thought that she would be in this boat. You know, and she tells you that right off the back. I would never have thought I was here, but, you know, she sees the difference of the injustice, the way, you know, Hispanics and blacks are treated versus a white. You know, you're getting that natural life sentence, and somebody else is getting just a little tap on the hand. But you educate yourself through there. You have to educate yourself. You have to learn what that law is. You go down to Springfield. You're gonna lobby. You're gonna speak to your lawmakers. I mean, you put them in office. You voted for them. You put them in office.
So you knock on them doors.
You knock on the doors and you tell them, you know what, support this bill. The parole bill that got passed, we had that bill for 18-year-olds going to be able. Illinois hasn't had parole for how long?
Yeah, since 77.
Okay, so now, you know, we got this back, and although it's only for youth at the moment.
It's stretch.
It does. It's because we try to get it for 26 actually, because the law says the brain doesn't fluctuate. They wouldn't go for it. Try to do 21, they wouldn't go for it. But it's there. And the thing.
So in closing, I found this scripture. I always keep it around. It's in 102 if you ever want to read it. And it says, He has looked down. You're talking about God. He has looked down from the height of His sanctuary, from the heaven. The Lord beholded the earth, to hear the groaning of the prisoner, to loose those that are appointed to death.
Amen.
And we don't got loosed.
Yeah.
Amen. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you guys coming.
Ronnie's seen it all from the inside walls. Gil got a vision that still stands tall. We don't beg for seats, we build our own. Bridge by bridge, we're bringing them home. Chains fall, bridges rise. We walk the dark with open eyes. No second chances, just transformed lives. Unshackled